It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, answer. Yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in to another edition of the Full Court Press. Hour number 2, 5 o'clock hour here on the Full Court Press. Thanks for joining us on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, streaming on 1069thefan.com and on the 1069 The Fan mobile app. And, of course, if you missed any of our past episodes, you can find them on our website or our app or anywhere you subscribe to podcasts on our podcast feed. And this last week, we've had a lot of different interviews, clips from post-practice interviews from players and coaches. So a lot to get you ready for tomorrow's showdown between Utah State and Texas A&M. Reminder, KVNU game day coverage will begin at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, and the kickoff at 10:45, and full play-by-play coverage on KVNU. So as you're out and about, you can take your radio with you, take the KVNU app with you. Or you can watch the game on SEC Network, which I understand for some people may be a little bit hard to find, but that's where the game will be played as Utah State takes on Texas A&M. But it's also a big night tonight for high school football. We got region play starting for most of these teams, and take a chance for us to kind of take a step back and review like what's happened in the season so far. It's you can't really say it's the non-region and the season starts fresh now because with RPI every game matters, but it's been an interesting start of the season so far as we come into week number 4 for a lot of these schools.
Yeah, there's been some things that were expected, some things that were not quite as expected. Some teams have overperformed, some teams have underperformed. So it's worth taking kind of a resetting things, figuring out where we're at. These teams aren't unknowns anymore. The first couple of weeks, you're like, well, I don't know about this and I don't know about that. We're 3 games in. We got a pretty good idea of what these teams are, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. Some teams have played maybe a tougher schedule, and so there's a little bit more nuance to it than just what their win-loss total is. But, we're going into region play now. I think Logan has one more they have a couple more non-region games. But for Region 11, it starts this week.
Yeah, let's actually start with Logan, and then we'll get into the Region 11, because Logan is in 3A. They play another 3A opponent tonight, but it's an earlier start time than normal. Most games start at 7, but tonight, Logan High trying to give Cedar a solid and move the game up a little bit so they can get home at it's going to be a late night for them.
Yeah.
Early Saturday morning, but at least shave a little bit of time off them on the travel.
It'll be an unearthly hour instead of an ungodly hour. That's basically the difference we're looking at here. Or maybe they're getting a hotel in Logan or something, but it wouldn't make sense to move the game time if that was the case. But yeah, trying to move it up, probably couldn't move it up much further to like 5 because that's just really hard to do, although I think sometimes that happens. But yeah, Grizzlies went down to Cedar last year, if I recall correctly, and lost that one, if I remember correctly as well. Or was it a couple years ago? I'm suddenly forgetting. I remember there being a series between these two teams. I should actually look it up real quick before I go too much further.
Bear River played down there earlier this year and struggled. The Cedars had a very strong start to their season, undefeated so far, and looking like they're the highest scoring team. Tied with North St. Pete. Actually, that's not true. Manti has got the overall scoring total for 3A, but Cedar is still looking like a very solid team offensively and defensively in how they've started their season so far.
Yeah, so last year that Logan actually did go down. It was later in the season, in October, just before the playoffs, I believe. And yeah, they lost that game 33-3. Logan looking to be improved. At times this season, they are on a 2-game losing streak with those losses to Granger and Mountain Crest, a couple of bigger opponents. We got some really good skill players, and Logan just kind of ended up being outmatched in a lot of ways against those teams. I think it'll be maybe a little closer with it being a 3A team, but Cedar's a good 3A team. They are a good opponent, and it's going to be a struggle, I think, for Logan. I think they can be competitive in this one so far as they're able to be competitive in the trenches. That basically seems to be the indicator of whether or not Logan can be competitive, like this year and last year in a lot of ways, where if they're outmatched in the trenches, they can't get a good pass protection, they can't get a good pass rush, or, stop the run with their front seven, like that basically kind of ends up spelling doom for them. If they're able to be able to have a good matchup in the trenches, then that's where a lot of their skill position guys, where they've had good skill position guys. And they've got, Easton Favero, who's getting better and better as a quarterback. They've got some decent playmakers at wide receiver and running back and tight end. They've got some guys there. Just so long as everyone's playing complementary football, that's the favorite phrase of coaches these days, within your offense and then between your offense and defense. As long as they're able to do that, they can be competitive. So that's really the thing I'll be watching here with Logan as they host Cedar.
Yeah, Cedar so far in their young season, they beat Bear River 51-14. They beat Pineview 50-34. So the offense was clicking in their first 2 weeks, but then more of a defensive battle when they played Dixie, and they were down for much of the game and then scored 13 points in the fourth quarter to secure the win, 16-13 over Dixie. So Cedar has not really had to travel hardly at all so far this young season. So this is their biggest travel game of the year so far. Hosted the first two, then played down at Dixie. So travel is a consideration in this one, where they'll be coming up on a bus earlier in the day. Maybe a little bit lagged from sitting for so long, but how this game starts might be the most important part for Logan and how they get going in this one. Again, a 6:00 kick time.
Yeah, you don't want to be falling behind. You don't want to be having to play from behind. Logan will tend to pass more anyway, because that's where some of their strength is. But you don't want to be exclusively throwing the ball all the time, because then the opposing defensive ends just get a tee up on the tackles, and that makes everything harder.
All right, so in Region 11, it's region play that's beginning, and let's start with, actually, we had a region game last night. Tooele and Deseret Peak squared off.
Yeah, so Tooele is technically in first place all alone in the Region 11 standings.
For a day.
Yeah, they'll be joined by a few teams that go 1-0, but yeah, Tooele getting that 28-6 over Deseret Peak, which is, I'm not going to say anything. I'm trying to keep positive. Don't want to keep digging on Deseret Peak.
Yeah, but it's fairly indicative of their season so far. 6 points last night. They have 15 total points scored on the season.
That is what I was trying not to say, Eric.
Well, I'm just giving facts. So other games going on in region play. There's speaking of the Tooele area schools, Green Canyon is hosting Stansbury tonight. Green Canyon, this is a team that's going to be so happy to finally be home. They've played their first 3 games of the season, all in Utah County, at Provo, at Springville, at Pleasant Grove, and they finally get a home game. They're 1-2 in those games. So had some struggles. Very dramatic, exciting win last week for them. So hopefully that builds some momentum for them as they host Stansbury. But Stansbury they've been having their way. They're a very solid football team, 3-0 to start the season.
Yeah, Stansbury is a really good team, and so that does make you worry a lot for Green Canyon, where they've had some struggles, particularly on offense. They've not moved the ball very effectively on the ground for the most part. With their running backs or with their quarterbacks, they've just struggled to run the ball, and they're not getting enough out of their pass game either. So they're just struggling on both sides. They've been decent enough on defense. These Green Canyon teams are always good on defense, but they really just need to put together a good game on both sides of the ball. But that's going to be really tricky against Stansbury, who is just flat out a good team.
Well, a little bit tricky to really understand who Stansbury is. They opened the season beating Skyline 26-23. Then they beat Bonneville 53-20. And Bonneville is not a great team. And then they beat Uinta 48-0. So they beat up on some lower teams in classification. So how good really is Stansbury? That's still a little bit of a question.
Yeah, so there could be a bit of fool's gold there, but Stansbury's pretty consistently a good team.
Yeah, so that game will be broadcast on 100.9 Light FM, Stockton Jukes, and J.D. Walker hanging out on that broadcast. Forgot to mention your game, the Logan game, taking place on our sister station KVNU with a pregame at 5:50, kickoff at 6, and Josh Anderson helping you out on that call tonight.
Yep.
Another game that's going on, let's go to some interesting rivalry games on the schedule. Skyview at Bear River, 2 different ways to monitor this game. If you're interested in the Bear River call of the game, Trent Carter and Josh Tyre will have their broadcast on 104.9 The Ranch in Box Elder County. If you want to watch the game and you're interested in the Skyview play-by-play of it, that'll be Hurricane John Newbold and Kaysen Carlson. And both of those links to follow those games will be available on Cache Valley Daily. But play-by-play will be here on The Fan. And interesting here where 2 teams they're still trying to figure themselves out on where they're at. But much like Green Canyon had a very exciting win for them last week, Skyview did too. Dramatic at the very end with a win over the reigning champs over Spanish Fork. Was that a turning point for Skyview?
You'd hope so. And the thing is these 2 teams have identical records, but I'm as much as I don't want to dismiss Bear River, this is a team I had a lot of hopes for this season. You look at Skyview's 1 and 2, and you're a lot more impressed by it, maybe for lack of a better term, than you are by Bear River, where Bear River's got a couple of losses where they gave up 50 burgers and only scored 14 points. They do have 77-0 over Cottonwood, but Cottonwood is not a very good
really
team.
Bad.
Whereas, you look at Skyview, 38-28 loss to Salem Hills, 35-27 loss to a very good Morgan team, and then you beat Spanish Fork 20-7. Like, those are all
20-17.
20-17, excuse me.
Yeah.
Those are all competitive games. Sure, Skyview lost 2 of them, but they were competitive in every single game against good opponents. And so it makes me, with what we're seeing on the field from Skyview in their results, in their production, you have to think Skyview's got a pretty big advantage in this one.
Yeah. I think Skyview is maybe shown to be more competitive in their games. And it's kind of a similar start to last year where they struggled a little bit out the gate, but then they started to dial it in and they were a pretty competitive team. But Bear River is an improving team too. Last week was a big rivalry game against a very good Box Elder team. How much do they kind of get things dialed in now when they get into region play?
Yeah, everyone's getting better every week.
So for the radio coverage for Bear River, it's on 104.9 in Box Elder County. For the Skyview coverage on radio, it's here on The Fan. And for video to watch the game, go to the Skyview broadcast because they can have video at that game. They are allowed to have video of their broadcast. So details on CacheValleyDaily.com for those broadcasts. And then finally, the last game of region play to note, big rivalry game tonight. And this could be the deciding game on who ends up ultimately winning Region 11 because it's an undefeated Mountain Crest versus an undefeated Ridgeline. And both teams look pretty solid coming into this matchup.
It's a little awkward to have a matchup like this where you kind of realize that, this one might decide region, and it's the first game of region. That's always a little disappointing because you like to have those maybe a little later in the season when both teams are really hitting their stride and you have some time to build up to it. But crosstown rivalry or across 2 different towns, technically, Hiram and Millville there. But once upon a time, they were the same school. Now 2 different schools. So a big rivalry there. There have been some amazing Ridgeline Mountain Crest games that I've watched, live or followed over the stream. So this could be a big one. Ridgeline, obviously the powerhouse, the runaway favorite, but an upstart Mountain Crest team who could very well be peaking. They've been following kind of these crests where it's a couple of years, they build up, they get a really good senior class, and they're kind of going up and down. And they seem to be reaching the peak right now with this team where they're looking pretty darn good and will probably be the biggest threat to Ridgeline in Ridgeline's quest to, go undefeated in Region 11 again.
Yeah, this Ridgeline team beat a good Morgan team to start it out, and then their last two, they've defeated their opponents by a combined 80-3.
Yeah, they've really worked some opponents over.
Yeah, I mean, Mountain Crest is also scoring a lot of points. So we've seen in years past where we have two like really good offensive teams coming together. We're like, oh my gosh, we're going to see touchdowns all over, and then it turns out to be a defensive slog. It very well could be that tonight in Millville when these two teams face each other, because Mountain Crest put up 62 on Uinta. They put up 49 on Logan. But both teams also showing that their defenses are pretty strong and not allowing very many points from their opponents. So very balanced teams on both sides when you come into this matchup tonight.
Yeah, so I think Mountain Crest will very much prefer to be a defensive showcase. I don't know if they have quite the firepower on offense that Ridgeline does. They do have capability. I mean, you listed off their scoring totals so far. But I think they'd like to be able to flex their defense a little bit.
So that a couple different ways to listen to this one. It'll be Dave Simmons and Lance Campbell on the call. It'll be on 104.5 The Ranch. It'll also be carried on 107.7 FM, but video streaming on CashValleyDaily.com. But keep in mind, it is the Ridgeline broadcast crew doing the play-by-play of this game. They've all been instructed. When it's a region game, you try to call the game for both teams. But as much as we try to remind them, sometimes the team that they're most familiar with is the team they tend to talk about more.
I always thought I was okay with that. Although for a while when I was doing basketball, I had myself and then Green Canyon, someone who graduated from Green Canyon. So helped me be a little more balanced there.
So, again, details on how to follow those games are available at CashValleyDaily.com. Also, just for those who are curious, Box Elder, they're at home tonight hosting Northridge. And then we've got Westside, Malad, and Preston, Bear Lake High Schools. They're all in action tonight as well. So scoreboards on all these teams and how they do tonight will be available on Cache Valley Daily later on this evening with, again, links to go back and rewatch these games, archives of games. We'll have photo galleries. We've got a bunch of different photographers out covering these games. And the UHSAA RPI, do we know when that gets released the first?
It should be getting released pretty quickly because it'll say on their website, I believe, when the first one is announced. But it's usually about a third of the way into each season for whatever sport it is. Once they get some sample size, because obviously if you did an RPI week 1, it would look horrible.
Okay, so the football RPI will be first available on September 15th. So we got 2 more games. This game's tonight and next week that have to be in the books before the first RPI is released.
That's the Monday after that week after this one. Something like, isn't the 15th a Monday? So 2 weeks from from Monday.
Yeah, because next Friday is the 12th.
Or no, 1 week from Monday. Sorry.
And so, a week from Monday.
Yeah, so we've got today's games, next Friday's games, and the Monday after next Friday's games, we get RPI.
Yeah, and that's supposed to be released at noon.
Okay. I know how calendars work.
So that's your rundown of what's going on tonight throughout high school football. We'll have, again, just check in on these broadcasts. These guys share scores with each other. And so if you're trying to figure out, be at one game or check on another, you can pull it up on your phone and watch it.
Yes, that's one of the best things is like if I need to know a score like right then and there, because we are texting scores between each other, but if I need to know what says right then and there, maybe that latest update hasn't happened, and be like, I just pull it up on my phone. Like, all right, score this game, score that game. If you want to know what's happening around Cache Valley, we got the scores live on the streams. If you're attending one game, want to know what's happening. If you're attending the Logan game, you want to know what's happening at Ridgeline or vice versa, just pull up the stream.
There you go.
Of course, the Logan game will be going a little earlier, so
that's true. You're going to be going for a while without any score updates.
Yeah,
but you'll have them in your.
I'll have them like the second half basically. It'll be like, all right, the game's just starting and we're like half over.
All right. So, yeah, those are our score updates and what's going on with high school football today as Region 11 is underway. These teams squaring off against each other. Logan still has another week, but they have a 3A opponent, a good 3A opponent coming to town tonight. Again, that game is an earlier start. Pregame at 5:50, kickoff at 6 o'clock. All those details are available on CashValleyDaily.com. Quick timeout. We'll be right back here on the Full Court Press on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
No matter what the conditions, DD Auto and Salvage can get your vehicle up and off your property. Now is the time to plan to make extra cash by calling DD Auto and Salvage and moving that old vehicle. Let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy to get rid of your junker vehicles, paying you the most money possible. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204.
That's 787-1204 today.
See store for details.
When grid failures and severe weather cause power outages, your business might take a hit, or at home, you could lose your refrigerated food storage. Generac Standby Power Solutions help ensure an uninterrupted power supply. Generac is the #1 brand of standby generators. Get yours today from Golden Spike Electric, your trusted source for safety and security. Golden Spike Electric, powering your peace of mind. Online at gscgenerators.com or call 257-3016. They also service other models.
Les Olson IT is your source for top quality technology. We carry the latest desktop and laptop PCs in stock, configured to your specific needs, and backed by our award-winning support team. And if your business demands high-performance hardware, we offer custom-built computers that can tackle any task. We also offer great computer accessories like monitors, keyboards, speakers, Fujitsu document scanners, and more. Get a quote today.
Les Olson IT.
For 80 years, West Motor Company has been helping Cache Valley drive home in a vehicle they love. And around here, people know Ford and Ram cost less in Preston. Right now, you could save over $10,000 off a brand new Ram heavy-duty Bighorn, or over $12,000 off Dodge Charger RT, and over $5,000 off Jeep Grand Cherokee. Say it with me. Ford and Ram cost less in Preston. Always have, always will. West Motor Company, 80 years strong and still driven to serve you.
Breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Mountain Valley Heating and Air Conditioning is giving you the chance to feel the love. You need a new system? No problem. At Mountain Valley Heating and Air, both residential and commercial spaces, small homes to large businesses, feel the love with Mountain Valley Heating and Air. MountainValleyHVAC.com to learn more details as Mountain Valley Heating and Air brings us back on the Full Court Press on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, streaming on 1069thefan.com and the 1069 The Fan mobile app. Saying goodbye to Jason. He's skipping out a little bit early. He's headed over to Logan High School to get ready for the Grizzlies versus the Reds. Logan versus Cedar. An earlier kick time, kicking off at 6 o'clock tonight. Give Cedar a bit of a chance to get home at a, somewhat normal or more normal hour. It's a long drive after that game. So trying to get home tonight, early tomorrow morning when the game is done. But I kind of threw these out, but I want to give a little more specific on the schedules. Preston tonight, they're at home. They're hosting Star Valley, Wyoming. Always a tough program. Could be an interesting showdown in Preston this evening. West Side, they're on the road tonight. They're up at South Fremont. Malad, they're hosting Ryrie. Bear Lake, they're on the road. They're at Firth. I already mentioned Box Elder. They're hosting Northridge tonight. Also, Rich High School, they're hosting Mountain View, Wyoming, in a showdown this evening in Randolph. So, very busy night for high school football. Check back on Cache Valley Daily later on this evening, and we'll have the full scoreboard with chances to see some of the replays of these games, even some photo galleries of these games as they conclude Got some great photographers out there following these teams, following these games. Great way to capture the action. So make sure you check back on Cache Valley Daily later on this evening, or even tomorrow, as after you get back into the swing of things on your way to the garage sale, right? The Cache Valley garage sale. But besides high school football tonight, we got some Mountain West football action this evening. Boise State hosting Eastern Washington. The Boise State Broncos laid an egg in their opener at South Florida. And Boise State is favored by 31.5 in this one over an FCS opponent. How much fine tuning has been taking place in this week between? Does Boise State look like a more dominant team like their old selves, or do they still show signs of weakness and vulnerability? So that game will be at 7 o'clock tonight on FS1. So if you're not at a high school football game or you want to check in, that's where that game will be broadcast this evening in Boise. Again, the Broncos being spotted 31.5 points in this one against Eastern Washington, 7 o'clock on FS1. A variety of games throughout the Mountain West tomorrow. Utah State's not the only team with a morning kickoff, and they're not the only team in Texas. In fact, the San Jose State Spartans are also in Texas, and they're taking on the Longhorns, number 7 Texas, on their field in Austin at 10 a.m. on ABC. So big opportunity for the Spartans, who they struggled in their week one. They let Central Michigan push them around a bit, and they were not nearly as efficient. So how well did they improve this week? But Texas favored by 36.5. Of course, Texas had signs of issues and problems in their opener at Ohio State. So, how quickly do they get back on track, or do they? Was that just a precursor of what the season was going to look like for Texas and the Longhorns? So we'll see if San Jose State can pick up a big upset on the road against a top 10 opponent, Ken Nui-Matololo and his squad there in Austin, 10 a.m. on ABC for those interested. Then, as we've already been talking about a lot this week, 10:45 on the SEC network, Utah State at number 19, Texas A&M. And then it's a full day of games for Mountain West football teams all the way into the evening. And so we go from 10 a.m. kicks to 10 p.m. kicks. So everything in between. At 1 o'clock, Idaho State, a team that really pushed UNLV around and made it a really interesting game in Allegiant, is taking their show on the road. They're going to be at New Mexico. So Coach Eck will be familiar with Idaho State. However, I have heard that the Bengals, their starting quarterback is hurt and probably not available for this one. So New Mexico with an opportunity to bounce back after their rough loss in their opener in the Big House. But that's at 1 o'clock. No national TV for that one. At 1:30, Fresno State against future Pac-12 opponent Oregon State. That'll be on the CW at 1:30. Oregon State favored by 2.5. So interesting to see what this game looks like with the two future Pac-12 opponents squaring off. And Fresno State is 1-1. Oregon State 0-1. So trying to see what happens here at 1:30 on the CW on Saturday. At 2 o'clock, Wyoming takes on Northern Iowa. No national broadcast of this one. Wyoming shut out Akron last week. Not really an impressive offensive showing for the Cowboys. Certainly a decent defensive showing, shutting out their opponent. One of the few teams that were able to do that against other FBS opponents. But we'll see if Wyoming finds their offense a little bit more in this one. Saturday at 2 o'clock. At 3 o'clock, it's Nevada against perennial P4 Pac-12 hopeful Sacramento State. This game will be in Mackey Stadium in Reno. No national broadcast of this one, but Nevada, they did score late. They did get a touchdown late in their game against Penn State last week. We'll see how they rebound and how improved they are this week against Sacramento State, a team that has a lot of bark, but so far not much bite. And see if Nevada puts them in their place. That's at 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. Then at 5, it's a Colorado showdown. Colorado State hosting Northern Colorado in Fort Collins at Canvas Stadium. 5 o'clock kick there. No national broadcast on this one. At 6 o'clock on CBS Sports Network, there's been a little buzz on this one. UNLV, so far undefeated, taking on UCLA. And some of those UNLV players have said some things that may seem a bit disparaging about the UCLA quarterback. And certainly UCLA got embarrassed at home against the Utes. So how do they bounce back to that one? Interesting opportunity for UNLV to host a P4 program in their house in Allegiant. So could be an interesting matchup. UCLA currently favored by 2.5 points. Well, UNLV is undefeated to this point. They haven't exactly really impressed. So UCLA, a team wanting to bounce back after an embarrassing loss. UNLV, a team that hasn't really put their opponents away, but they have found ways to win. So I guess give them some credit for that. But those who want to tune in, 6 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. And then we go into the evening schedule, another future Pac-12 showdown on the CW, 8:15 kickoff. The Pac-12 After Dark, San Diego State at Washington State. Aztecs put up a lot of points last week against an FCS opponent, but looking like they might be kind of interesting with their offense finally getting on schedule, and decent defensive showing as well. But the Washington State Cougars also won their opener. Washington State currently favored by 1.5 in this showdown of future Pac-12 opponents at, again, 8:15 on the CW network. And then to finish it off, the nightcap, Sam Houston flying to Hawaii to take on the Warriors. And that will be probably on Spectrum if you want to find it there, but otherwise no national broadcast of that one. But Hawaii 1-1 on the season after their late finish and dramatic win over Stanford, but struggled in their other game. But Sam Houston 0-2 so far coming into the season. So very busy weekend with games kind of stacked on top of each other a little bit. Got Utah State, San Jose State happening at about the same time. New Mexico, Fresno State, Oregon State happening at about the same time. But then you got some separation between the rest of these games. And so the Mountain West games all day long on a variety of different networks. But it starts tonight with Boise State hosting Eastern Washington with the Broncos 31.5-point favorites. Getting back to the Young Power Sports of Logan text line, for those of you that want to give your score predictions for Utah State and Texas A&M, Jason and I gave ours last hour. Opportunity still. We'd love to get yours as well as we continue the marching closer and closer to that kickoff. 8313 texting in with a score prediction. I think USU will win 42-35. There you go. I love the optimism. That'd be a lot of offense. 42-35, 77 point total in that one combined. I love the optimism for the offenses for both teams. But that would be something if Utah State pulled that off and got that win. 6804 texting in. Prediction 38-24. A&M wins. USU learns. Okay. I like that. And also another text, I think I missed this one earlier, but I honestly think a win is useless at this point of the season. I think that if they show out that they actually meet their goals, they're competitive in all three phases of the game, I think they would take more away from that than if they got a win, got a big head, and then stunk the rest of the season. It's fair. But that's all I'm wanting for is for this team to play competitive. Like they want to be out there, they want to compete and try to win. And play the next down better to try to get up and down the field. Give yourself a chance. I think that's what a lot of us are asking for. And try to get Texas A&M off the field. Can the Utah State defense get Texas A&M off the field? Or are they going to score every time they touch the ball, like we saw Alabama do last year? Another text from 6804. Let's hear it for teams ranked 100 plus playing in Texas. My alma mater, Kent State, is playing Texas Tech. I think we were ranked last in FBS until our first win in years last week. Good luck, USU. Good luck to all the basement dwellers. There you go. Look, it can happen. They pull off an upset, and make things interesting. Utah State, can they keep it interesting? Can they at least look like they're competitive and make it a fun game for the team? Make them feel like we've got something going. Yes, it's going to be a big challenge. Maybe they're unable to pull it off, but at least they're showing signs of improvement and showing signs that this should be a respected team in the Mountain West Conference this coming season. I think that's what a lot of us are hoping that we see on Saturday on the SEC Network, or as we're listening to KVNU Saturday morning into the early afternoon. All right, continue to get those score predictions in. I want to continue to hear from you. How you think the game will play out on Saturday for Utah State. Of course, we got the Mountain West Conference games. We got one tonight. We got a very busy high school schedule. We got the NFL going as well. They had the game last night. We got a very interesting game this evening. We'll touch on that and look at former Aggies. Where are they? Who could be playing this weekend in their openers? And also some interesting news about the NBA All-Star Weekend. Some proposals out there about tweaking the All-Star game again. And then some interesting stuff from EuroBasket. Now that they've had all of their early rounds of play done, their group play, they were moving into the knockout round this weekend. But now that all teams have been able to play, they've got a lot of different stats from these games that have been played. So are there any Jazz players on this list when you look at top performers so far in EuroBasket? We'll take a look at that as well. Maybe would Neemias show up or Diogo show up in any of these lists? We'll take a look at all that coming up on the Full Court Press on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
The patio is open. The chips are endless. Drinks on tap. You know it's got to be Cafe Sabor, Cache Valley's best Mexican restaurant, gold winner in the Best of Northern Utah contest. Experience Locals Day every Thursday with a huge burrito, endless chips and soda, only $7.95. That's a complete lunch for just $7.95. Finding any lunch under $10 is nearly impossible. Every Thursday, drinks, chips, and massive burrito, just $7.95. The patio, the sun, the fun at Cafe Sabor in the historic train station on 6th Weston Center in Logan.
This is Brent Wallace with Cache Valley Bank, and we understand that concerns about fraud can weigh heavily on you. Your peace of mind is important to us. That's why we're committed to looking out for you and your family. Our team keeps a vigilant eye on your account, and if you ever have concerns or need support, we're just a call or visit away. Whether you need advice or just someone to talk to, our friendly staff is ready to help. We're more than just a bank. We're your neighbors, and we care about your security. Visit your local branch today. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
At Mountain Valley Heating and Air, it's more than just service. They provide top-quality installations for both residential and commercial spaces. So you're not just getting equipment, you're getting a whole team of professionals dedicated to making sure you and your family truly feel the love. Whether it's a brand new installation or replacing an old system, trust the experts who care. Feel the love with Mountain Valley Heating and Air. That's mtnvalleyhvac.com.
The biggest garage sale of the year is this Saturday, September 6th from 8 to 3 at the Eccles Ice and Event Center parking lot. Food, kids' bouncy house, and slides, plus thousands of hidden treasures. Save big on items you just can't live without. Bring your cash, Venmo, and haggling hat. Vendor booth space still available. Sign up at CacheValleyGarageSale.com.
That's CacheValleyGarageSale.com.
This Saturday, don't miss it. Sponsored by DD Auto Salvage. More than just metal. A self-service auto parts yard, metal recycling, junk car pickup. It's recycling made easy.
Northern Utah and Southern Idaho's home for sports. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
Young Power Sports of Logan has the ultimate service center. They can handle any make, any model, 100% of the time. Even have free pickup and drop-off anywhere in Cache Valley. Young Power Sports makes it possible for an easy fix. And look, it's not too early to get your snowmobile checked out. Get your sled checked out for free. Just Google Young Power Sports Logan for Cache Valley's premier power sports service department. So the NBA All-Star Game has been fizzling for quite some time. They've been trying to tweak it. They've been trying to add different gimmicks to make it more interesting and force interest, but it just hasn't really, whatever they've done, this hasn't really worked. And so there's been some growing noise that the expansion of the game, the talent level in the league right now, they should be doing some form of USA versus the world. We're seeing what's happening in EuroBasket right now, how these players, how some guys just really take their game to another level when they're playing for their home country. We've seen this for the Olympics in the summer. We see teams that may be overlooked, or a lot of rosters that are overlooked. Maybe they'll have a guy that's a star, that's an NBA player of note, but it's not that one guy that does everything. He's got a whole cast of characters that help him out. And these other guys that play for their countries, they step things up. They make it very interesting, and they make it a lot of fun watching their national pride. So there's been a growing sense that maybe it's time for this transition to happen, for the NBA All-Star Game to feature more prominently international players versus the American players. And it might actually be moving that direction. Apparently, there was a proposal from the Players Union presented to the league's competition committee earlier this week, basically is advocating for 2 USA teams and 1 world team. They would play each other in 12-minute quarter games. It would be kind of in a round robin, and to determine who ultimately plays in the championship game. But there are enough players, and there's part of the concern when we've looked at this. And if you did a Team USA versus the world, just that one team versus looking at international players, and another team exclusively at Americans, invariably some players that deserve to be all-stars will get left out, and some players that probably don't need to be all-stars will get put onto the international team. Because while there are, look at the last couple of all-stars have been international born. Giannis, Jokic. So there is and you got others that could be in that mix with Luka. So there's high-level basketball being played by international players, but how deep can you really go until you start to say, well, someone's going to lose a spot that should have been an all-star, but they weren't because of this new criteria. But in doing 2 U.S. teams versus 1 international team, then you're probably going to be able to do that. You have 3 teams, 8 players on each roster, and you get a chance to see if that changes things. Now, the other thing that's interesting is that this the All-Star Weekend will be in mid-February at the time of the Winter Olympics. And so that could be compelling to have the world versus the USA, which is going to be going on in the Olympics, and also being held in Los Angeles, the site of the future Olympics. And so it makes sense that they ought to take a look at that. And look, too many other things that they've tried haven't really worked. So why not give this a try? Let's keep changing and chasing opportunities to make this interesting. I think this could be pretty fun content, pretty compelling. The Team USA or the USA All-Stars, I don't think they would want to lose on their any of their games, but the international players would love to play spoilers, and the international game is very good. So I don't know. What do you think? Should that be the format that the NBA chooses for the All-Star game this weekend? Not this weekend, but the upcoming season. That 2 USA teams and then 1 world team. If you do that, are there 8 quality All-Stars that are international? And keep in mind, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he would be considered part of the world team because he's from Canada. He's not from the United States. So I don't think it's that hard to come up with 8 great players in the NBA that are not born in the United States. So I actually think this is a good idea, and I would love to see how this plays out. The All-Star game actually would also be moved up a little bit earlier. It would shift from Sunday evening to Sunday afternoon start time, and change that up a little bit. So they're trying to make things better and more intriguing and more interesting. And I think this is about the only other thing they can do to change what they've already tried before that I think would be interesting, that would actually make it interesting for me to watch, see what's going on in the NBA All-Star Game. Otherwise, things that they've done are just gimmicks. I think they're just goofy gimmicks to try to tweak the game. And the players they've told us they don't really care. But in this format, will they care? I don't think that Team USA or the NBA USA All-Stars will want to lose to the international players. International players would love to stick it to USA to showcase international play overall. So I actually think this will be quite compelling and could make it really fun to watch. So again, this is just a proposal. This has been advanced from the players, which I think is really solid that this probably has legs. So this is from the Players Union itself with this proposal to this competition committee, be a round-robin tournament. And if it comes from the players, then it's probably more likely to be adopted. 435-339-0321. Your thoughts. Would you be more interested in paying attention to the All-Star game with this type of format, or is it just going to be more of the same, where it's just a glorified layup line for these players? It's just an exhibition, and they're not really going to care or really try that hard or play that hard. 435-339-0321. And speaking of international play, EuroBasket has been going on. Lauri Markkanen has been playing very well. So is Neemias Queta, Diogo Brito, and Jusuf Nurkic has been playing well for Bosnia-Herzegovina. So there's some good connections to Utah State and the Utah Jazz. Take a quick timeout, and when we come back, now that the round play is done, group play, I should say, has concluded. Now we look at who's played pretty well so far. Who are the standout players to date before they get into the knockout rounds tomorrow and Sunday? And we'll see some familiar names on those lists. We'll let you know about that coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
Cold weather is here, which means you'll be using your gas fireplace again. Let Advanced Fireplace and Stove, the 4-time Best of Northern Utah gold medal winner, help you get it ready for those cold Cache Valley winters. Schedule a service call with one of their service pros today and receive 20% off if you mention this ad. If you're building a new home, Advanced Fireplace and Stove can design and install a heat and glow fireplace. From traditional to modern, Heat and Glow has something for every design and every budget. Find out more at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
Express tires for less.
Safety and comfort on the road are Express Tire's top priority. As a Point S team member, count on peace of mind with an inclusive warranty that includes nationwide protection. Any brand, any size, better pricing. No appointment necessary on the highway at 3200 North Main.
Express tires for less.
Hi, this is Robbie with LSS Insurance. If you're about to turn 65, the Medicare phone calls, mailers, and emails can be unreal. Out-of-market telemarketers simply do not understand Utah, Idaho, or your individual situation. We have real answers and real solutions with local help. At LSS Insurance, we are your health insurance specialists. Call us 752-9493. Having local help makes all the difference, and there's no cost to you. Call 752-9493 or visit lssins.com.
Got a fundraiser, charity drive, or nonprofit event coming up? Let us help spread the word. Send the details to calendar@cvradio.com and we'll share it with our community. From bake sales to benefit concerts to community celebrations, Cache Valley Media Group is here to amplify your efforts. We're proud to support the people and causes that make our community stronger. Email calendar@cvradio.com today and let's build a better, more connected community, one event at a time.
The Full Court Press. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and online at 1069thefan.com.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Frandsen, Jason Walker.
Don't look ahead, there's stormy weather.
I hope there's not stormy weather. It looks pretty nice out there right now. I think tomorrow's going to be nice as well. We've got high school football tonight. We've got the Cache Valley Garage Sale tomorrow. Utah State football is at Texas A&M. Looks like should be decent weather for that. So I hope you have a great weekend planned. I know that's been pretty crazy weather down south in southern Utah. I guess there's a slight chance some of that might be making its way our way, but otherwise should be pretty nice weekend for us. And we were talking about international play. EuroBasket has been going on. Group play has concluded, and EuroBasket has put together a couple different lists of how things have gone so far. Like they've got a top 10 list of the players who've been the most efficient. Luka Doncic leads all players in efficiency, but Lauri Markkanen, he's on that list at number 6. A couple other things in points. Who's been the leading scorer so far? Luka Doncic is number 1. Lauri Markkanen, number 3 in points through EuroBasket so far. In rebounds, look again, Lauri Markkanen, he's number 7 on this list. Nikola Vukovic is number 1. In assists, looking at this, Rokas Jokubaitis from Lithuania is leading the pack at number 1, but no Jazz players or former Aggies on this list. In steals, Luka Doncic is number 1 once again, but Lauri Markkanen at number 3 on this list. Blocks, how about Neemias Queta coming in at number 3 on this the list of blocks for EuroBasket so far. And then, that's the concluding of their list. So Lauri Markkanen finding his way on a number of these top 10 lists through group play. Neemias Queta finding his way on there as well. And it's going to be an interesting weekend for EuroBasket as they head into knockout rounds or their play continues on, and group play is done, and now it's win and advance, lose and go home. So so tomorrow, a couple games of note. Portugal will be playing Germany in Riga. That's a tough ask for Portugal. Germany has looked very good so far, but Nemi and Diogo Brito have their hands full in that one, but hopefully we'll be cheering them on, see if they do okay in that one. And then on Sunday, a couple other players of note, Jusuf Nurkic and Bosnia-Herzegovina will be taking on Poland. That'll be in the earlier game in Riga. And then later it will be... I didn't see Finland on here, so I wonder if they don't play until... I must have overlooked... Finland is on Saturday. Excuse me. They play Serbia as one of the later games in Riga. So a lot of these different guys in action. So a couple of Jazz players, a couple of former Aggies still in it. So Lauri Markkanen plays Serbia later in the day. Neemias Queta, Diogo Brito, they played Germany earlier in the day. And then that's all on Saturday. And then on Sunday, Jusuf Nurkic, Bosnia-Herzegovina will take on Poland earlier in the day. Again, all of these games being played in Riga, Latvia, which is a great town. I've spent some time in Riga, Latvia a few years ago. But interesting to see how that plays out. We'll recap how these players did on Monday before the next round picks back up again on Tuesday. And then finally, last thing to let you know about former Aggies in the NFL. Keeping an eye on some of these games. The Chiefs are playing the Chargers tonight. That's kicking off here soon at 6 o'clock on YouTube. But doesn't look like Jalen Royals is going to play. It looks like he's going to be out for this one. Chiefs are favored. Chargers are listed as the home team. But the way that they painted the field, it looks like it's just a neutral site. They put the team logos and painted team colors for each team in the end zones, and Chargers fans are quite upset, saying, hey, this is supposed to be a home game. You got to treat it like a home game. Folks in Brazil are like, yeah, we don't care. This is a neutral site game. So that's 6 o'clock tonight for the Chiefs and the Chargers. And then tomorrow, very busy day for the NFL on Sunday. The Commanders, Bobby Wagner and the Commanders hosting the Giants, and that'll be at 11 a.m. our time. And then, of course, Jordan Love and the Packers taking on the Lions on CBS and in the afternoon at 2:25. In fact, looking at our broadcast coverage here on The Fan this weekend, we've got Michigan at Oklahoma, college football on Saturday. That kicks off at 5. And on Sunday, our Sunday NFL schedule here on The Fan will include the Raiders at the Patriots for the morning game. That broadcast will start at 10:30. And then in the afternoon, with broadcast coverage starting at 1:45, the Lions at the Packers. So we're going to hear Jordan Love here on this radio station on Sunday. So pregame coverage will start at 1:45. So excited for that, to see how that plays out for Jordan Love. Of course, still uncertain if Micah Parsons will play on defense for the Packers in their opener, but other games to keep an eye on. But the Sunday night game could be really interesting. The Ravens are at the Bills, and only 1.5 points to Baltimore on this one, as the road team going to Buffalo and 6:20 on NBC. And then Monday night, it'll be the Vikings at the Bears, 6:15 on ABC. So very busy opening weekend for the NFL. Of course, there was the game last night, had some controversy. First play of the game, you got a player ejected, you got flags, you got a player hurt, you got players spitting on each other, you had a lightning delay. But it was a pretty interesting game. And the delay actually probably helped the Eagles, because the Cowboys were kind of in position. They had some momentum going their way, but they were able to get the win, the reigning Super Bowl champions, beating the Cowboys. But Cowboys looked pretty good in their opener. We'll see how the rest of the schedule looks like. One game tonight in the NFL. Chiefs are at the Chargers. Again, that's on YouTube, streaming only. And then busy day on Sunday with games all over the place in their various time slots. But we'll have a couple of those here on The Fan, as we will through the rest of the season. We had the Thursday night game last night. We'll have some Monday night games throughout the schedule, throughout the season. But we've got a doubleheader here on Sunday with the Raiders at the Patriots with pregame at 10:30, and then the Lions at the Packers at 1:45. That's going to do it for us here on the Full Court Press. Thanks so much for tuning in and being part of the show. Love all the score predictions that you sent in during the show today. And one more reminder, KVNU Game Day coverage will begin at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, and kickoff is at 10:45. So listen to the full pregame, the full play-by-play, full postgame on KVNU. I'll be on there with Tyler Larson, J.D. Walker, Stockton Jukes to break it down what happened and at Kyle Field in College Station. And who knows, maybe we'll be talking about a great Aggie win. But tune in for that early Sunday afternoon as we break it down and hear from the coach as well as what he has to say about everything. As soon as the coach is done, then we'll kick it off with KVNU Aggie Call. Best of luck to all our high school teams in action tonight. Again, more details about how to watch and listen to a variety of different games throughout the area on CashValleyDaily.com. That'll do it for us tonight here on the Full Court Press. Thanks so much for being a part of the show this week. Have a great weekend. We'll be back at it again on Monday, recapping how well we did with trying to pick six, predict what would happen over the weekend, update what happened with the Aggies, and update you on these high school scores and standings as well, as they are getting into region play. And these games are really, really fun. Excited to see how things play out tonight. That'll do it for us tonight. Have a good one.
Home for Sports Talk Radio. KLGN Logan, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.